right, we are here. Welcome. I'm going to put this sound down. And so we can get started. So, welcome to the Profit Lab show and podcast. I'm your host, Marie Torossian, CPA and 10X certified business coach. And I'm so glad you are here. If you are new to the show, go ahead and subscribe and like the channel or the pages that you are watching us on or listening to us at. And so that you can get all the alerts when we drop a new episode, which is going to be every Wednesday at noontime Eastern. And that's you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. So any other platforms you is your preference, you can hear us there or listen to us. So today we're diving into pillar number 8, implementation and integration. So, strategy is totally worthless without any execution. So let's talk about how to implement what you've learned and how you can integrate it into your business and make it really stick. Most strategies fail, and that's not because the strategy is specifically bad. It's just because there's no clear plan, there's no accountability, and there's no follow through. That's the biggest problems I see with many of the people that I coach. There's this big dream of what we want, right? There's this big dream, but then there's no follow through. And coaching really helps make sure that you are following through. You have an accountability person that you are, speaking to, and you have an objective person that is guiding you. So with that, I want to cover 3 execution killers so you can avoid these mistakes and make sure that you're truly implementing and integrating those strategies that we've talked about in the past episodes into your business. So execution killer number 1, too many priorities. So if there's too many different priorities that you're trying to turn it off, like a lot of people use the word, I'm turning on fires all day. Well, if that's the case, that's really not going to help you grow your business to anything. So what you want to do is pick the 1 to 3 priorities max. That's it. If everything is a priority, nothing is going to get fixed. So the way you fix it is by taking 1 to 3 priorities you're going to work on today or this week or this month, and then go at it. Don't get too many things. You can't fix everything at the same time. Execution killer number 2 is that there's no owner. Every priority needs a name next to it. If it's everybody's job, then it's no one's job. So, and the other thing is that if you as the owner feel like every single priority needs to be fixed by you, that's another problem, because we talked about bottleneck before. That is not what we want. So what we want is that if these 3 priorities that you want to work on, you want to be able to say with your team, okay, who's the right person to handle this specific priority and can help us go through this fixing phase. So every fix or every priority that you want to fix, it needs to have an owner, right? To be able to go through that. Not everything is dependent on you. Remember, the whole point of this is to build a business that can run without you. Execution killer number 3 is no scorecard. If you don't measure it consistently, nothing is going to get improved. So you may think of a specific problem, you have the fix, you try to fix it, but if you're not tracking if the fix is actually working, then you don't know if it's really working, right? So these are the 3 execution killers: too many priorities, no real owner of each priority, and then no scoreboard. So we want to make sure that you don't fall into this trap, and you have something that you're tracking. Implementation is where the true magic really happens, or where it dies. So what I usually recommend is for my coaching clients is to break their goals, the big goals, into 90-day sprints. What that does is it actually helps you pull the big picture into small bite-sized goals, right? So if you want to hit $10 million, well, you can't do that in 90 days, obviously, but you can break down the $10 million goal into 90-day sprints where you can actually get work done building towards that $10 million goal, okay? And here's where most people get, they want a quick fix, and they feel like, well, if I think a big enough number, and if so, I could do it in 90 days, or I can do it within minor tweaks. No, it actually takes, you have to give it the time. There is this realistic expectation you have to have. Even if your number is so big and you want to get that, you also want to be realistic. It's like, I could probably get there in 5 years, for example. If I'm going to get there in 5 years, so how do I break it down into 90-day sprints? So then in 5 years, I've actually hit every single 90-day target, right? The big goal and the 90-day target. So here's where I recommend you start. First month of that 90-day plan, okay, choose those 1 to 3 priorities. And I mentioned that earlier about the killers, right? So keep that in mind. Document the current state of each priority that you're going to work on, and then build the plan and assign ownership, right? So sometimes it could be a group of team members that are helping you do this. And you just have to make sure that you have the right team that's working on the priority. Again, you're not the fixer of everything, and you don't have to be. If you're the only one that could fix things, that's not a business that's going to grow. So you want to have people around you, team members that are maybe better than you in certain things, and they're going to be able to help you build those plans and put the fixes in place, right? So month number 2, now that the plan is completed, you know exactly what needs to be done and who's in charge of it. Now you have in month 2, you start executing the plan, and you break it down to weekly implementation. You track some metrics on how these plans are getting implemented, maybe timelines, due dates, all of those, and then you adjust as needed. And then in month number 3, you review what worked and what didn't work from that new plan. You refine and systematize what needs to be done, and then plan for the next sprint. So that way, every 90 days, you're truly fixing 1 to 3 problems in your business, and it's not becoming overwhelming. It's like, because the business still has to run. There's still things that needs to be done, but there has to be a specific structured way to fix those problems a little bit at a time, right? In 90-day sprints. So I want to give it in an example so it doesn't feel like so philosophical here. We want to really give you examples that you can visualize how this could work. So let's say you want to fix your lead flow without burning out. Okay, this is related to your marketing and sales. So month 1, let's say you choose 2 channels. Let's say social media or other things like for your marketing, 2 channels. Define weekly activity targets, and then set up your CRM stages. So that's going to be the lead flow coming in. Let's say you're doing Facebook and Instagram. Those are the 2 channels. You're going to say, okay, my weekly target is to bring in, 100 leads. Okay. And then you set up the back end of the system, your CRM system, where those leads are going to go. And they're going to sit there so they go through the full process. So month number 2, you start your weekly outreach. Okay, you create a content cadence. It could be a newsletter, it could be a weekly tip of the week, whatever it is that you want to do that outreach with. And then you start tracking those leads. Who's clicking? Who's bouncing off? Right? Who's unsubscribing? All of those things are things you track from your leads. And then who are the people that are booking calls? All of these stats are going to really help you understand the quality of leads coming in, and you refine it accordingly, which will start happening in month number 3. You start refining your messaging. Now you create the SOP, the statement of operations of how do leads come in, and then you assign an ownership for someone in your team to keep tracking this. So this is this is 1 priority, fixing the lead flow problem. So when you're thinking about the up to 3 things you want to fix, make sure that they're not going to pull the team in different directions. So this one example I gave you, that's 1 priority. So make sure you stick to that. The other thing you want to do is you want to start creating from the month. You also want to create a weekly accountability rhythm. So like successful implementation requires that weekly discipline of checking how things are working. So for example, on Monday, you set your top 3 priorities for the week. Middle of the week, let's say Wednesday, you check in. Are we still on track? Do we need to do anything there? And then by Friday, you're like reviewing again. What went well? What didn't work? What do we need to correct? What do we need to fix? So you have that monthly overall goal, which falls under the 90-day 3-month goal. 3 months, breaking it down to a month, and then the weekly goal. So that way you're always staying on track on what's getting fixed. So now I want to go into clarifying the difference between what is implementation and what is integration. Implementation is just doing it once. Okay, you implement the process. The integration is making it part of your business DNA, your culture, your SOPs, right? So to integrate a new process, you repeat it for 30 days, consistently building that habit. Just like, let's say if you decide, to work on yourself personally, you want to lose 30 pounds, you change your eating habits, you start going to the gym, you start working out. So those are habits that's going to take you a minimum of 3 months to really get into that new habit. It's the same way for your business. If you're trying to fix something, if you're implementing a new process, to be able to integrate it as part of the culture, you have to repeat it every 30 days and consistently build that habit. Document the process. The hardest part is if something you're implementing new and you know about it, but nobody else knows about it and cannot repeat the process. Every process needs to be repeatable. It should be understood by the team that is going to take over, right? And let me tell you another thing, because documented processes are very important when you're ready to sell your business. It's going to bring you a higher value beyond just the financials. People are going to look at, your buyer is going to look at, do you have statement of operations? And then how do you run your business? That's going to really give them comfort, saying, wow, they have their process. This is exactly their secret sauce of why they are so successful and why they're demanding high value. Train your team. Make sure everyone knows the new way of doing things. Again, if it's in the marketing department, it's a lead flow problem. Everyone in your marketing team that's going to do that process repeatedly, they need to understand it. They need to be trained, and they need to have a document that says, here's what we do. And of course, measure it. Track the impact so you know it's working or not. So it's not just about implementing things. Integrating, like we said, is the next piece of the puzzle, is to integrate it into your business. Everybody understands it. You measure it all the time. And again, for example, going back to the same thing of lead flow. If you said, hey, we're going to get 100 leads per day, and then you start doing that, you change the process, everything is working great. You have that for about, 3, 4 months, 5 months, and then something happens. So if you're not measuring, you wouldn't know if something changed. And then if something shifts and say, oh, we're only getting 10 a day, what's going on? What changed, right? So measuring it is going to be super, super important. Okay, so as we get to a close, I always leave you with the profit question of the week. So here's your question. What is one strategy you learned in the last 6 months that you never fully implemented? Maybe it was through reading a book. Maybe it was listening to a portion of some of my podcast, but you did not really fully implement it. And then what would it take for you to execute it in the next 30 days? Okay, so again, full question. What's one strategy you learned in the last 6 months that you never fully implemented? And then what would it take for you to execute it in the next 30 days? Okay, so now your action items for the week. Choose your top 3 priorities, 1 to 3 priorities we talked about to work on and implement and integrate in the next 90 days. Write them down. Break each priority into your monthly milestones. And of course, think about who's going to help you out. And then set up your weekly accountability check-in with yourself, with your coach. If you don't have a coach, you can have me. Or up here. Okay. It's very important. Accountability is very important to get things moving. Okay, so next week we'll be discussing optimization and scale. We're going to be fine-tuning for efficiency and exponential growth of your business. So until next time, make sure to commit to your success. Be sure to follow, subscribe, like, and share this episode so that more businesses can benefit from our content. And with that, I'll see you next week.